Yeah, we're good, by the way. We're good?
Whenever you start.
Oh, okay. So this is Ekev. It's Deuteronomy 7:12 to 11:25. Man, I feel like we need more light. We need more light for sure. But now it's like first class. Now you actually have light with them, right? It's crazy. So please remind me, because I will forget even though I have the book open, I forgot to put a picture of a map onto this, because I don't have this in electronic format, only in print. Okay, so whenever we start talking about the 7 nations that are to drive out, I have a map of where they are. Okay, so just for you. Okay, so I'll pass this out good old fashioned style. Okay, because I forgot to put it on there. Alright, so Ekev, oh yeah, my name is Lucas Klein. I'm one of the teachers here. It took me everything not to say Mr. Klein. Okay, Lucas Klein. I'm one of the teachers here at Roca Eterna Youth. Okay, me, Jonathan, and then Rico Jr. is also the other 2 teachers here. Okay, because I noticed we have some new folks. Alright, so Ekev means because. Erica? Okay, just making sure. It means what?
Heal.
Heal?
Yeah.
Chabad was wrong. Means. Okay, what was it? Healed?
Heal.
Heal? Oh, it means heal. Don't mind me, okay? Alright, so. Blessed Adonai who is blessed. Blessed is Adonai who is blessed now forever. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who has chosen us from among the peoples and given us the Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, who gives the Torah. Alright, so for this portion, we're going to be talking about covenants as well as cultural context. Okay, covenants with the aspect of using God's name. We're going to talk about a lot about what it means to love God, because remembering the commandments was in this portion like 50,000 times. I don't know if you saw it, but it's all over the place. Okay, it's for a reason. Okay, we're going to talk about that. And also recall what love actually meant in the ancient Near East. Can anyone tell me what love meant in the ancient Near East? Loyalty. Yes, good. All right. And then cultural context. All right, we're going to be talking a lot about Canaanite religion. Have y'all ever studied Canaanite religion? It's really weird. It's really weird. Okay, we're actually going to see some similarities in the world around us today, actually. I'm not going to say it, but you'll get what I'm saying, okay? All right. So the table of contents, we're going to talk about the commandments, and then we're going to talk about Canaanite religion, because God talks actually a lot about fertility. Okay, it's pretty prevalent in this portion. Why fertility? We'll talk about it. And by the way, fertility isn't just, well, sex. It's not just that. Okay, it's also about the agriculture, the fruits, the vegetables, the rain. It's a lot about that other stuff instead of just ritual stuff. Okay, so just for future reference. Because a lot of times whenever they hear the word fertility, that comes to mind. It's not just that, that's part of it. Alright, so let's talk about commandments. The resource that I used was a Tariag Mitzvos. Do you have this book? Any of you? You do? You do? Well, I do too. Okay, you do? Really? Awesome. It's a really good resource. It is from a more of a rabbinical perspective, but it does give some really good insights into how to do the commandments, what they mean, and in its context as well. Okay, so for the majority of this one, this section, this is what I'm pulling from. A lot of the commandments are pretty self-explanatory. You know, thou shalt not kill. All right, there you go. But not in this case. In this portion, we have other ones. And this resource gives a lot of insight. Okay? I'm already on slide 9 of 64. This was a very busy week, so my slides are at 64, not 100,000 this time. Okay, so we should finish early, actually. So before we talk about the commandments, because these commandments in this portion, I don't know if you saw, but our portion starts at 7:12. Okay, but it is a continuation from 7:1. Okay, so there's a group of commandments in 7:1 through 7:4 that were listed in last week's portion that I'm going to be recalling and expounding on this portion, because we have like a second part this time. Okay, so I'm going to do that. But first, we have to establish a couple of things. Why follow the commandments there? What's the point? What does God require of us? How can we love God, and what does it mean to love God? We have to establish that first before we start the commandments, in my opinion. Okay? Alright, let's do that. So this is from Deuteronomy 10. This is in this portion. Okay. A lot of people quote this, so I'm sure it's going to be familiar. Okay. Now, Israel, this is what is the Lord your God asking from you, except to revere, which a lot of translations say fear. Okay. Fear the Lord your God, to go in all his ways, which a lot of translations say walk in his ways. To love him, to serve the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, and to keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes that I'm commanding you today for your own good. Y'all ever heard this before? I'm sure you have. If you haven't, you have now. Congrats. Okay? So these 5 words, okay? Oh, the highlight. I can't really see them anyway. You can? Okay, good. Sure. Okay, so revere or fear. Okay, we have to go in all his ways, to walk in his ways, to love him, to serve him, and to keep. All of these words, by the way, those 5 are used in ancient Near Eastern covenants for total allegiance and alliance and loyalty to the suzerain. Please make that down. Please write that down. Okay. So whenever this is said, okay, in its context, basically what's being said here is total allegiance and loyalty to Hashem. That's what that means. Okay, that's what that means. Also, go ahead.
Because the book of Deuteronomy.
Oh, that's true. Oh, yeah, I forgot to. Okay, so the book of Deuteronomy, this is a review, is written in a covenantal format. The whole book is a legal document. Yep, the whole book. The Torah is a legal document, so is Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy is called the Little Torah for that reason. Okay, it's written in such a way that it is covenant. Okay. I think in the next couple of portions we have like 80 commandments.
Yeah, it repeats a lot of
Yeah, so we have a lot to cover. Alright, so these 5 words, what do they mean? Anybody? I saw someone write it down. Anybody? Ancient Near Eastern covenants, total loyalty and allegiance to Hashem. Okay? Alright. So this is also from 1 John 5:3. Okay, so this is in the New Testament. It says, "For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not burdensome." Okay, so what's the love of God? To keep his commandments, and the commandments are not burdensome. I know that from a lot of systems of religion, they say that, well, I can't follow the commandments because they're too hard, they're too difficult, too burdensome. Well, John would disagree. Okay, and so like everybody else. Are they difficult? Yes, they can be at times, especially if you're new to it. I understand. Okay, but one is for our own good, which Moses says, and then it's also, they're not burdensome. Okay, and by following the commandments, you show that you love God. Okay, and going back here, what are we supposed to do anyways? To love him, to keep his commandments, to walk in his ways, to serve him. Alright? So, love, Western love. This is my water. Okay, that's some of this random water. Okay, so we've talked about this before. This is more of a review, so that whenever we do talk about the commandments, we know why we're doing it and why we're studying it. Okay, so Western love is emotions, affection, lovey-dovey stuff. Okay, Western love is the cherry on the top of this concept. Okay, so actions and commitment to covenants, oaths, and vows. That's ancient Near Eastern love. If I say, Rico uses this all the time, and it's really good because Hashem always uses not always, but a lot of times uses the marriage metaphor to explain the covenant with Israel, right? So, if I say that I love my wife, and then I go commit adultery, then I come back, do I love her? No, why not? Yeah, if I cheat on my wife, why do I not love her? Because of my actions and my lack of commitment, right? But what if I buy her flowers and I buy her a nice car, right? What's your dream car? I don't know yet. Okay, so I'll buy her, and I don't know yet. And then I'll give it to her, okay, with a bunch of flowers, right? I put on my nice suit, right? After just committing adultery. Is that love, though?
No.
According to the Western context, without knowing that I cheated, they say, yes, you love her. Because I bought her a car, I bought her flowers, I got her a nice car. But what about my lack of commitment? You see, these go hand in hand. Okay, they are not separate. Okay, I cannot give her lovey-dovey stuff and have a lack of commitment. I just can't do it. They go together. Okay, likewise, I can't really have this without the other. Okay?
You know, that happens later on in the book of Isaiah. They start doing both. following other idols, but at the same time doing sacrifices.
Sure, good point. So you need both. You need a commitment to a covenant, and by doing so, you would naturally do these things. Okay. All right, cool. We're good. That's more of a review from what, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? All right. What's our time?
6 o'clock.
You need to slow down.
Oh my goodness, we have a coffee. So I did. I had two coffees.
Just take 6 of water.
So okay, we can do that. My most recent way of studying, I've been implementing the strategy. It helps me a lot. I'm prone to highlighting the entire page. Well, yeah. I literally do. I highlight the whole page. Okay, and then I have to narrow it down with tabs. Okay, so then I reread, and I use tabs.
It's funny, I do the same thing.
You do the same thing?
Highlight,
It's an incredible waste of time. I do it all the time. So then I have to go back with tabs, and I tab the important ones because, if everything's important, it has to be more important. And then I summarize my notes on a sticky note. And it helps me a lot, actually. It helps me a lot. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do also throughout this teaching. Okay, I'm going to go through some material, and I don't expect you to write everything, but what's on the sticky note is digestible. Okay, this is a sticky note. It's just a square, but it's a sticky note. Okay, so I have my summary on this. A lot of times I use abbreviations. Okay, so the equal sign means equal to, I guess. Okay, W/O means without. Okay, the at sign we all know is at. Okay, so to love God is to keep His commandments. But question, what happens if we don't read the Torah and yet we preach to love God is to keep His commandments? How does that work?
It doesn't you're not being loyal.
Exactly. And for me to say, hey, you got to keep His commandments because that means loving God, and I don't teach you how to do that, I'm not doing my part. Okay. So, to love God is to keep His commandments, but that's impossible without Torah. It's impossible. You can't, well, I'm not going to do it. So God requires us to fear, to walk with, to love, to serve, and to keep Him and His commandments. That's what God requires of us. I remember in college, I went to Southeastern University. Have you all ever heard of that school? Very charismatic, okay, for the lack of a better term. Right, so, and folks will go around the school and be like, I don't know what God's will for me is. I don't know what He wants from me. Like, I don't know what career, because a lot of times, even in this culture, today I still fall to this. We put our identity to a career. Do we not? A lot of us do. Okay? And I also fall victim to that. Okay? Now, what I've come to learn, mostly this week, is that it doesn't really matter what you do for a career, as long as you're able to fear God, walk with God, love God, serve God, and keep Him and His commandments. Okay, you could do that as a nurse, you could do that as a teacher, you could do that as a doctor, you could do that as an AC contractor, leaving. I've seen someone that can do it. Okay? You can do whatever you have to do that. Doesn't matter. Okay, obviously, there are some careers where you can do that, and we all kind of know which ones those are. All right, so the ancient Near Eastern understanding of love is still prevalent in the New Testament because we just saw that John says that. And this is a common misconception that in the New Testament the word love means something different. Right? Well, what is it? People say that in the Old Testament God is this kind of ruthless ruler. And then in the New Testament He's a hippie. Right? A lot of people say He's a hippie, He's lovey-dovey. Okay? Now, that also comes with theological issues. Okay? But love is still the same. And we see that John says it. The love of God is to keep the commandments. The word love is still meaning and rooted in keeping a covenant. Being committed to a covenant, regardless whether you're reading the Old Testament or the New Testament, it doesn't matter. Love God is to keep your commitment to the covenant. Okay?
Even in the first century with the Romans, love was still that too. About commitment and covenant. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So, sticky note. Okay, if you got this written down, you're good. Okay. All right, so we're going to start with commandments. I kind of went out of order because the commandments listed here, this one in particular, kind of connects to the past portion. Okay, so we'll talk about that. And once I made this connection, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
How many commandments are in this portion?
8. There are 8 commandments, not 75. That's in a couple of weeks. Okay? All right, so anybody want to read? Let's because that's the projection. Anybody? Go ahead.
The whole thing?
Just this one.
Okay. And you must not bring a detestable thing into your house, or you will become a thing devoted to destruction like you. You must utterly detest it, and you must utterly abhor it, for it is an object devoted to destruction.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So, anybody care to tell me what that means? This is another one that's pretty straightforward. If something's devoted to destruction, should you bring that into your house? No. If I picked up a grenade with the pin out of it, should I bring it to my house? No.
You can make it.
I mean, she can make it in time, right? But is that a good idea? No. So if God says, listen, hey, these folks, these people, which, don't worry, we'll go back. There's 7 nations that are devoted to destruction. The people, the land, everything, devoted to destruction. Okay? So, we'll talk about why as well. Should you marry them? No. Should you make a covenant with them? No. Should you take the silver and gold from the idols into your house? No. We're going to see that happened to Joshua. All three of those things. Okay, poor guy. Okay, so we're going to see that this is another self-explanatory one. Okay, we're going to see how it connects to the last portion. All right, so we are not to bring anything that is consecrated and devoted to God into our house. This applies to things consecrated to destruction in this case. It also applies to things consecrated that is holy. Okay, like imagine bringing the Ark of the Covenant to your house. That'd be a good idea. No, please don't do that. Okay. What about the menorah? Okay, don't do that either. Okay. So you see that things that are consecrated, separated, either for destruction or holiness, just don't bring it into your house. Okay? They have their own protocol. All right. If you do bring it into your house, you also bear the judgment that the thing had. So if I pick up a grenade from the ground and I have its pin taken out, and I bring it into my house, I will blow up. Right? Because that's what that thing is destined to do. So, if I go into this land, okay, and I pick up an idol and I take the silver and gold, and it's destined for destruction, and I bring it to my house, what's going to happen to my house? Chaos. It's also destined for destruction. Okay, we're going to see that in the future whenever we read Joshua. Okay, so let's reiterate. Don't bring a detestable thing into your house. Okay. Do not bring anything consecrated into your homes that goes for either holiness or destruction. All right, in this case, in this context, it's destruction. Do not bring anything considered detestable into your homes. You also bear the judgment of the thing that you bring into your house. Okay, so if they go into the land and they grab an idol and they bring it into their house, that house is destined for destruction. Okay, and they will bear that judgment, and we're going to see that. Okay, go ahead.
Do you know what number commandment this is?
It's like 480 something. 481, 482, something. I forgot to bring the book. I should have bought it. I thought about bringing it. But no, it's okay. I have it. No, it's like 480 something. So we still have like 150 more. No, this is a different book. No. All right, we're good? So don't bring anything consecrated either to the Lord or to destruction into your house. What happens if you bring it to your house? You have the judgment. Okay? All right. So we're going to backtrack. Now that we've established this part, if you bring something that is consecrated, destined for destruction into your house, you bear the judgment. So, if those people, these 7 nations I'm about to read to you, if they're destined for destruction, should you marry them? No. Should you make a covenant with them? No. All right. Good. All right. So this is from Deuteronomy 7, 1 through 4. This is the start of the chapter that we're reading now. Can anybody read it for me? Yep.
Okay. When Yahweh your God brings you into the land that you are about to enter into it, to take possession of it, and he drives out many nations before you, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations mightier and more numerous than you. And Yahweh your God will give them over to you, and you will defeat them. You must utterly destroy them. You shall not make a covenant with them. You shall not show mercy to them, and you shall not intermarry with them. You shall not give your daughter to their son, and you shall not take his daughter for your son. For their sons and their daughters will cause your son to turn away from following me, so they will serve other gods, and the anger of God will be kindled against you. and he will quickly destroy you.
So, why would he quickly destroy them for intermarrying? Who's destined for destruction? Those nations. Okay, so if they intermarry, okay, if you're married, you live under the same house, right? Right, so if I intermarry with somebody that's destined for destruction and they come under my roof, what happened to my house now? It's destined for destruction. Okay, I remember reading that part and I was kind of confused. I was really confused. I'm like, why? It didn't make much sense until I read this portion, right? Because the commandment that connects this part to explain this, we just read. Whenever you bring something that's consecrated into your house, it bears the judgment. You bear the judgment. Okay, so I remember reading this, so that's kind of hard. But it's connected to taking something destined for destruction into your house. Okay, it's like taking a grenade, just don't do it. Okay, and we're going to read what the consequences of that with Joshua. Because, spoiler, okay, I'll just say it. Someone takes silver and gold, okay, from one of these nations. Okay, he dies. And then Joshua makes a covenant with a Gibeonite, okay, which is from the Hivites and the Amorites. Okay, so we're going to see in just a few chapters later that stuff happens, and there are consequences. So if you, go ahead.
I was going to say that there's a good example with Solomon. He married like a bunch of women from different nations. But the thing is, back then, when you would marry somebody, whatever their god was would also become your god. So you would adopt that god. So all those women he married, he also brought in idols from those people.
Which explains why they would serve other gods in that context as well. Okay, so you see now, this makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? Not to intermarry. Kind of had to backtrack to give full context. Okay, so I want you to remember that all of these people, all of their idols, their homes, their Asherah poles, their altars, them, literally everything that has to do with them is destined for destruction. Okay, please remember that. All right, moving on. I would just establish that, right? Why would they not be allowed to marry? Go ahead.
What if like someone from another nation converted into their religion? Would they be able to marry those people?
I don't remember. Go ahead.
In their specific case, like all those nations that he listed, like if you study them and you see what they did, like
we'll talk about those today.
But in the case of like, for example, like Ruth, who was a Moabite, and God said that the Moabites are not supposed to.
The Moabites were
part of the covenant. He said that specifically to the Moabites, they're never going to have a place in the covenant. But because Ruth had a change of heart,
I would say so.
So yeah, it depends on your heart.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yes, so the answer would be yes. Tentatively. Alright, so let's talk about what happened with Joshua. Okay, so I remember back when, not too long ago, I started reading from Joshua because I didn't want to read all this confusing stuff at the beginning. Okay, so I started reading from Joshua. And I got really confused, okay, because I'm like, okay, where did Joshua come from? Moses? Who's Moses? Alright, so I had to go all the way back to Genesis. However, if you read Joshua, you'll be absolutely confused because almost right away there's a renewal of the covenant. Okay, so you have to go back to Deuteronomy, and then you have to go back to Numbers, Leviticus, Exodus, and then Genesis. So please, if you're going to read the Bible, start with Genesis. Okay, just please do that. Okay, a lot of folks seem to believe that you should start with John. Okay, but where does John point you? Can y'all quote John 1:1? There was a word, there was, yeah, so just start there. No, it says in the beginning, so you have to go all the way back to Genesis, okay? Alright, anyways, that's my rant. So, Joshua, we see that someone takes from the devoted things to destruction, okay, and then he makes a covenant with Hivites, which is a remnant of the Amorites who are the Gibeonites. Okay, it's confusing, but I have a map. I'll just pass it around now, okay? It's page 84. This is the Baker's Bible Atlas. This is a new version. I just got it like 2 days ago. Okay, because I had the older one. It was like 60 years old. Okay, and I don't know if you want to see black and white pictures with like no ink on them. So I went ahead and got the new one for you. Okay. Actually, no, I got it for me. I won't lie to you. Okay, but you can use it. So page 85, you'll see that on the map we'll have different names for these nations that they're going to be in. Okay. All right. Yep. So, let's read what happens, all right? I'll read this one. But the Israelites broke faith concerning the devoted things. Achan, son of Carmi, son of Zabdi, son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah. So, he's an Israelite, right? Okay. He took from the devoted things, and the Lord's anger was kindled against the Israelites. Why would the Lord's anger be kindled against the Israelites for this action? What was the action that he did?
He took from the devoted things.
He took from the devoted things. And we've already established that that's a big no-no, right? Not to do that. Because if you do, what happens?
You get destroyed.
Yeah, you bear the guilt. Okay? So, what do you think will happen to this fellow, Achan? You think it's going to end well? No. And this is something that's pretty interesting, too. In the ancient Near East, I forgot to put this on the slides. I forgot to put a lot of these on the slides. Okay? But in the ancient Near East, the gods were not predictable. They were not predictable. They were not friendly. Okay, first of all. They could be manipulated, bribed, because the gods in the time had needs. Okay, they were fed by the priests, so they could be manipulated. Okay? Is God predictable? What happens if you transgress the covenant? There's blessings and curses, right? Okay, there's consequences. So we can already stop here, and we already know what's going to happen. Because God is a righteous judge. Okay? If someone, and by the way, these people agreed to this covenant. Okay, this is the same generation. So these people were there when Deuteronomy was read to them, and they agreed that they would not take a devoted thing. And what does this fellow do? Achan. He takes a devoted thing. Is that rebellion? Yes, because he was present. Okay? And he agreed to it. Go ahead. Oh, you were saying something. All right, we'll continue. By the way, just for context, they get defeated in a battle. So Joshua's like, "Yo, what's up? What happened?" Okay, so he goes before the Lord, asks the Lord, and the Lord said to Joshua, "Stand up, my guy. Stand up. Why have you fallen on your face? Israel has sinned." What's sin? What's sin? Y'all remember the definition that we established? Transgression of a law, lawlessness. Okay? And we just read that the commandment not to take a devoted thing was etched into Deuteronomy. Okay? Alright. Israel has transgressed my covenant that I commanded them. They have taken from the devoted things that were set for destruction. Okay? They have stolen and acted deceitfully, and they have put them among their belongings. The Israelites were unable to stand before their enemies. They fled from their enemies because they have become a thing devoted for destruction. So we see, if you take a devoted thing for destruction, you become devoted for destruction. Alright? Alright, that's the concept. Alright, so I will be with you no more unless you destroy the devoted things from among you. Alright? Yeah, so he dies. If you keep reading, go ahead. Okay, but he dies. The guy, Achan, he gets burnt, actually. Burned with fire. That was the consequence. Because what was the... You know, actually, I'll read it to you. It's a good connection. So what are these idols devoted for? Destruction, but how? Let's read it. You will break down their altars, dash in pieces their pillars, and burn their carved images with fire. What happened to him? He was burned with fire. Okay, so you see that the same thing that he took, he had to bear the guilt. He had the judgment. Same judgment. Okay? Okay, can someone please read it? Go ahead.
But when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and to they on their part acted with cunning and wit and made ready provisions and took worn out sacks for their donkeys and wineskins, worn out and torn and mended, with worn out patched sandals on their feet and worn out clothes. And all their provisions were dry and crumbly. And they went to Joshua in the camp at Gilgal, and said to him and to the men of Israel, "We have come from a distant country, so now make a covenant with us." But the men of Israel said to the Hivites, "Perhaps you live among us, then how can we make a covenant with you?"
Alright, so the Gibeonites, the people from Gibeon are called Gibeonites, just like the people from America are called Americans. Okay? Gibeon, they're a remnant of Ammonites? My mind just went blank. Amorites, and the Hivites. Okay, so you'll see on that map that's passed around, they're part of the 7 nations that are supposed to be set for destruction. Okay, now, are they to intermarry with them? No. Are they to make a covenant with them? No. Well, that's awkward, because we're going to read that Joshua takes a covenant with the Gibeonites. Okay, they're set for destruction. Alright? I'll read this one, I got you. There's a lot of words, but bear with me. they said to Joshua, they being the Gibeonites, they said to Joshua, we are your servants. Already we see that they are submitting to Joshua. They're wanting to be in covenant with them. Okay, they want to be the vassals in Israel's Israel. Okay? And Joshua said to them, who are you and where do you come from? Okay, the importance of asking that question is because he needs to know if they're from the 7 nations. Okay? Alright. They said to him, they, the Gibeonites, said, from a very distant country your servants have come, because of the name, the Lord your God. We have heard a report of him and all that he did in Egypt. And all that he did in Egypt. Y'all remember what he did in Egypt? Y'all recall that portion? What did he do?
Free the Israelites.
Freed the Israelites. How?
Sending plagues to Egypt.
Plagues. He split the waters, right? Which is a big deal. Okay, that's a big deal. Alright, cool. Saw what he did with Egypt, and all that he did to the 2 kings of the Amorites, who were beyond the Jordan, and to Sihon, the king of Heshbon, and to Og, the king of Bashan, who lived in Ashtaroth. This name, Ashtaroth, can you see this right here? Ashtaroth? That's going to be a really important name in the future, okay? So just remember that name. So our elders and all the inhabitants of our country said to us, take provisions in your hand for I'll just sum it up, okay? So they went and they asked to be in covenant with Joshua, and he said yes. Was he supposed to do that? No, because what happened to those 7 nations? What are they destined for? Destruction. Okay? Alright.
I mean,
And
the argument could be made that he was tricked.
yes, but he says here, he did not he did not ask counsel from the Lord. Okay, so this decision okay, think about it. If you're in this situation, by the way, if you saw the map, did everyone see the map? They were like right there, smack in the middle. It's not like they were hundreds of miles away from these countries. They were smack in the middle. Okay, so for them to say, yeah, we're from a very distant country, that should give you context. Okay, that they're saying, hey, we're from like Russia, dude. We're not even from Canaan. All right, we're from somewhere else. Okay, so that would be like, okay, I guess I trust you. Okay, you're not from this immediate area where I'm supposed to be. Okay, that's what happened. But Joshua did not ask the Lord for guidance on that decision. And by the way, for a leader of a nation to come into a covenant with people, that's a big deal. Okay? And by the way, who's king over Israel at this time? Well, always. But right, especially in this context, who's king over Israel? Anybody? God. God is. Okay, so should he be made known, or at least asked if they can come into covenant with somebody? Yes. It's a good idea. Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
How come they can't just take it back?
Because they use God's name.
So that means they have to keep it forever.
Exactly. And we're gonna, in the next, we see that Saul, y'all remember Saul? Y'all know who Saul is? He's like the first king over Israel, earthly king, officially. Okay, and he kills these people that just went into covenant with Joshua, the Israelites. Okay, so we'll talk about that in a second, okay? Alright, so essentially, Joshua finds out 3 days after that they tricked him. Okay, they tricked them. They are actually, in fact, from the people that they're supposed to kill. But we've established before, if you make an oath, if you make a covenant, whose name do you do it in? God's name. So if he goes back on his oath, whose name is changed? God's name. So are they allowed to go back on it? Nope, they're not. Okay, they're stuck with them. So what he did was basically made them their servants. Okay? Because if you read, they said, we are your servants. We'll do whatever you want. Just don't kill us. Okay? That's essentially what happens. So then we see Saul killed them. Okay, so let's recap what's happened. Okay, in the beginning, in this portion, we see that we're given a commandment. This portion's commandment was talked about a lot. This one in particular was regarding this one. Okay, not to take a detestable thing into your house, which we tied to covenant making, right? With those nations. Not to intermarry, not to make a covenant, and not even to have mercy on them. Okay, because they're devoted to destruction. So we see that Joshua messed up. He went into covenant with the Gibeonites who were destined for destruction. Okay, we saw another fellow, Achan, under Joshua, took the things that were devoted to destruction, and what happened to him? He got killed by burning with fire, because that was the destiny for what he took. Then we see that Saul, the first earthly king of Israel, killed the Gibeonites. So did Saul break that covenant that Joshua made? Yes, he did. So whose name was shamed as a result?
The Lord.
The Lord's. Okay. That's a big number. So let's ask you, was Joshua supposed to make a covenant with the Gibeonites?
No.
No, he was not. Okay, he was supposed to kill them, actually. Was Joshua supposed to have mercy on them? No, he was not. Why was all of Israel set for destruction after Achan took the idol, or the silver and gold? Why?
Because he took the silver and gold.
And what were those destined for? Destruction. Okay, so it goes back to the commandment that if you take from it that's destined for destruction, you're likewise destined for destruction. What name is used to make a covenant oath of vow?
Lord.
Lord's name. Okay? Alright, so let's continue with the commandments. Okay, you shall burn the images of their gods with fire. So what happened to Achan? How did he die?
He was burned.
He burned. Okay, because you see that's their destiny. They're to be burned with fire. You shall not covet the silver or gold that is on them, which is exactly what Achan did. Okay, and so you take it for yourself, which is exactly what Achan did, so that you are not ensnared by it, for it is a detestable thing, the Lord your God. Okay, so idols, this is actually a picture of Baal. Not a picture. They didn't actually take him because he doesn't exist. But this is an idol of him, okay? El is the head of the Canaanite pantheon. Okay, and his idols are usually put with two arms up, as in like about to give a blessing. Okay? Baal has one hand up like victory. Okay, just so you know in the future. Okay? So idols were adorned with gold and silver, which is why, for context, why would they covet silver and gold from idols? Well, because they had gold and silver on them. Okay, they were also made from metal or wood. Alright, and these in particular were set for destruction. So if you took an idol or took silver or anything from the idol, you were also set to burn with fire. Okay, sound good? So, don't benefit from idols. Idols were adorned with silver and gold, and they were made of metal or wood. Be sure to close the door quickly, okay? Okay. Ready? Alright, this is the next commandment. And you will eat, and you will be satisfied. Okay? And you will bless the Lord your God because of the good land that He has given you. So, did you know that you're supposed to say a blessing after you eat? A lot of people here do. Okay, but I did not prior to like a year ago. Okay, because coming from a different system of religion, okay, you'll see that they bless the food before they eat. And I'll tell you one thing, it doesn't matter how many times you pray over a pork sandwich, it doesn't make it last. Okay? It just doesn't. Alright? So, we're supposed to bless the Lord after we eat. Okay? If you want to do it before, cool. Okay? I don't care. But the commandment says to do it after. Okay? Sound cool? Alright, go ahead.
I think it's interesting that it's specified that it's like once you're satisfied, because before you eat, it's so easy to pray over your food because you're so hungry. You're like, oh, thank you. I think it's way more difficult to pray after you eat because you've already been satisfied. You already have what you needed. It's a bit more difficult to be grateful. So it makes you it trains you to be more aware of that.
Yeah. And in this portion, it lists 7 species. Okay, I'll go ahead and read it to you so we can see where it comes from. All right. So it's right here in chapter 8, verse, I'll start from 7. Okay, I'll read it to you. Okay, I don't have it on here, but I'll read it. Because 7 species are listed that are native, not native per se, but specific for the land of Israel. Okay? For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land of brooks of water and fountains and springs flowing into valleys and hills, a land of wheat, barley, vines, which is grape, okay, grapes, and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive trees, honey. They didn't use bee honey, by the way, they used pig honey. Okay. A land in which you will eat bread without scarcity, in which you will lack nothing. Okay. So you see that these 7 species are very specific to the land of Israel. They are inherited. Okay, so the blessing goes usually with these 7 species. Okay, correspondingly. Okay, barley and wheat, by the way, every time that barley and wheat flourish, the national God is given credit for it. Why would that be important for God? For these two in particular species to flourish in the land of Israel? This who would be glorified? Hashem. Okay? It's another. Okay? And these are pictures. Okay, this is a fig, pomegranate, olive, and dates. Actually, I don't even know if that picture is accurate. I've only seen dates a couple of times. So.
I think that's person.
It's what?
Person.
Yep. Anyways. Okay. So yeah, those are some species that maybe we're not familiar with. Okay. All right. So we are to bless God after eating meals from these 7 species: wheat, barley, grape, figs, pomegranates, olives, and dates. And yes, oats, oatmeal, and is included with barley. Wait, I don't think so. All oats. Even the apple, cinnamon, and maple syrup.
It's funny though, because we used to go to this text place, and it would have the prayers on the back of the utensils.
Really?
Yeah, so it would have the Protestant, Catholic, and then the Jewish prayers. And it's funny because, like you said, the Protestant and the Catholics, they only bless the food.
Yeah.
The Jewish one's the only one that actually thinks about providing that.
That's true. That's a good point. Did you hear that back there? So Johnny made a good point and said that Catholics and Protestants.
And yeah, I went to a place and they had the different prayers from the Protestant, the Catholic,
and they bless the food. And Judaism, okay, that system of religion, they bless God.
They thank Him.
Yeah, they thank Him for the food, not just the food. Which is pretty interesting. I didn't think about that. Good point. All right, continuing. You shall love the alien. Some put stranger, some put sojourner. Okay, it just depends on the translation. Okay, for you were aliens in the land of Egypt. It's basically to love Torah observer or someone that embraces Torah. Okay, they don't have to get everything right. Okay, just like and God loves to remind them, hey, by the way, ET Dubs, you were slaves in Egypt. Okay, so love the alien, love the stranger, love the sojourner. And those people weren't coming in and bringing in a bunch of idolatry. Okay, they were actually submitting to the Torah in those parts. Okay, I call that what? Proselytes? Proselytes? Okay. Okay. So, the Lord your God, you shall revere Him. This one has 4 commandments in one verse, by the way. Okay, I only really did 3. Okay, the Lord your God, you shall revere Him, which is fear Him. Okay, serve Him, to cling to Him, and swear in His name. Why would it be important to clarify to swear in His name? What happens if they swear in, I don't know, Baal's name? Would that be idolatry? Yes, it would. Because swearing is all about oaths, covenants. Okay? That's who you pretty much swore allegiance to. So, to fear Him. We see the lack of fear of God pretty often. Oh, I did not need to spit. Okay, we see it pretty often. Okay? If you change the feast days, if you change the commandments, if you change the statutes, if, I don't know, we're in the priest of Melchizedek, you know? If we change a bunch of stuff like that, do we actually fear God? No. No, if I respect and fear my Father, would I do what He says?
Yes.
Yes, I would. Okay. Would I ask questions and try to debate? No. Okay. Serve Him. We could do that by following Torah. Okay, first and foremost. We could also do that through prayer. Okay, and by the way, the Siddur, I have one here. This is not just a bunch of words. Okay, this is taken from temple service. Okay, this is temple. Okay, this isn't just a bunch of words to go through the motions. Okay, now in the beginning, whenever you do it, it's probably that's how it's going to feel. Okay, but the more you study, the more you see its structure. I'm trying to pull up. This is Ani Tefillah. The Ani Tefillah Siddur. It has a good picture of the structure, which I can't find at the moment. That's okay. There's a structure to this. Like there's structure in the temple service. Okay? So, whenever you see people praying, they're actually serving God because they're following the footsteps of the temple service. Okay? Alright. Swearing in His name. Now, we've established already that is regarding oaths, vows, and covenants. Okay, it's really important to swear in God's name and not Baal's, right? Yes. Okay. Now, what happens if you break it? Who gets shamed? God, because whose name did you use?
God.
God's name. Okay? Alright. So lack of fear, changing things that God says to do. okay, and arguing with him on it, which is kind of dumb. You can serve God through prayer as well, okay, through either Siddur. The Siddur will change the way you pray. Have you noticed that? It's no longer just you coming to God and demanding things. Okay, now it's you approach Him with awe, with respect, and with fear. Okay, and you follow the structure in the Siddur. Swearing is based on oaths and vows, but please be careful to follow through on them if you do one, okay, so that God's name is not changed. Okay, which is why in the New Testament, Yeshua says, let your no's be no's and your yeses be yeses. Okay, follow through on it, because whose name is going to be shamed if you don't? That's me. Thumbs up.
6:30.
Not too bad. These help a lot. This little stickiness. Okay, ready? Alright, discuss with your neighbor. Wake up. Alright, actually stand up. Everybody stand up. Everyone's falling asleep. That's okay. I would too. Stand up. Alright, we are to ask your neighbor, which commandments can you recall from this portion? There were 8. What does love mean in the portion's context? And what does 1 John 5:3 say loving God is? Go ahead. Talk. Whoa. Commitment to a covenant. Commitment. Caitlin, ask him. Ask him. Oh, it's true. You can take it. Well, I guess they're using it. She's sitting in that one. Maybe that one in the corner. Alright, y'all may sit down. Alright, we'll go over it. Hopefully you are a little more awake. I saw Andrew's solution. I can get it something to do. Just kidding. Alright, so the commandments. Let's cover those really quick. So, first actually we see that love in the context of the entire Bible, by the way, not just this portion, is commitment to oaths in your covenant. Okay? Alright, loyalty. So the first one is to not bring a detestable thing into your house. Okay, otherwise you're going to bear that judgment as well. Okay? We see, where's Ashley? Alright, then we see here, they have to burn the images of the gods with fire, and they are not to covet the silver or gold that is on them. Okay? They kind of go hand in hand. Because this one, you shall burn the images of the gods with fire, that's repeated in the last portion. Alright. To bless the food after or before? Which one? After you eat. Okay? From the 7 species. What are those 7 species? Go cheap.
Fig, wait, what? Figs, pomegranate, dates, olives.
Good job. Okay. Alright. To love the alien, sojourner, stranger. Okay? Really, any Torah observer or embracer of the Torah. Okay? You have to love them. Because they were also aliens, strangers, and sojourners in Egypt. Alright, to fear God, to serve Him, to cling to Him, and to swear in His name. Okay, those are the 8. Alright, so that answers 2 of your questions. Oops. And what is 1 John 5:3 saying? Loving God?
Follow the commandments.
Keeping the commandments, yes. Just a few or all of them? Yeah, he doesn't say you can only do like 5 if you're good. No, he says all of them, right? Alright, cool. And in the context of 1 John 5:3, does the word love take on a different meaning or is it the same thing?
It's still
Same thing. Okay. Alright, so, let's do review questions. What happened to the fella that took from the devoted things he was
He was burnt.
was burnt? Why was he burnt?
Because the idols.
That was a destiny for the idols, yes. Alright. Why were they instructed to not intermarry in Deuteronomy 7:3? because they were destined for destruction. And what happens if you take from devoted things?
They will be dead. You will be dead.
So yeah, if you marry, good luck. You only happy ever, never. Okay, what were idols adorned with?
Silver, gold,
Silver and gold. What were they made of?
wood,
Or metal. Metal or wood? Wood. What were the 7 species from the land of Israel that were listed? Grapes,
dates,
wheat, figs, olives, barley.
dates.
I lost track. Okay. Good job. All right. What are we supposed to do after eating? After. Bless Hashem. Good. All right. Good job, everybody. First section. Go ahead. We're not done. We got another section. All right. Relax.
I think it's good for context to add that, like, 1 Corinthians 13.
What's that?
No, 1 Corinthians 13 talks about love, but we usually make it sure that.
That's it. I'll have to look into that. Thank you. That's a good point. All right. So, now, y'all remember the map? Yeah. On page 84, right? 85? So, whenever we look at it, a lot of these nations that were listed, okay, we see the Canaanites, y'all can't see it, okay? The Moabites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, all of these ites, okay? They were all, not all of them, but a lot of them were under the umbrella term Canaanites. Okay? So a lot of times whenever you see Canaanites, dude, it could be like 18. Okay? Because in this time, the government was city-state. I guess. Cities. Okay? Like a big city, like Orlando would be like a people. Okay? According to this time. It's not just all of Florida, it'll be Orlando. Okay, just like we have the United States, all this as big countries. Not back then. Back then it was smaller than cities. Like Babylon was a city. Okay. All right, cool? All right, Canaanite religion. Y'all ever messed up? Let's just establish that right away. They messed up. Okay, they did a lot of things that we'll cover. Okay, so God's humor. In this portion, I firmly believe that God does kind of have a sense of humor. Okay, many people will probably disagree. It's fine. It's cool. Okay, but I'm going to show you a theory that I have and another author has regarding some of the liturgy, that's the wrong word, but literature? The words. In Hebrew, we're actually throwing shade, for lack of a better term, at their Canaanite gods. It's actually kind of funny. Okay, so we'll see that. Okay, whether you think it's funny or not, it's besides the point. Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny whenever I read it. Okay. All right. So this resource for this next point, okay, is the Archaeology Study Bible, the ESV version. Okay. It's actually a really good resource. I don't, obviously, with every single resource out there, I don't always agree with everything they say, but some of the points make really good discussion. Okay. And I'm going to take one of their points and expound on it today. Okay. Their point was that I'll read it to you now. Because I don't know if I put the verse. Yes, I did. Okay, so disclaimer, please. God is not making a reference to a deity every time one of these words are present. It's just in this particular context that I want to point out a few connections. It's just a theory. I'm not saying any of this is fact. Okay, this part I just found really interesting. And if it's true, it's even better. Okay? In Hebrew, there's a couple words that sound a lot like the Canaanite gods, the deities. Okay, and a lot of them actually are the same thing. Okay, they just have different names. Okay, so we'll talk about those. So this all comes from this right here. All right, and because you listen to these rules, this is Deuteronomy 7:12-13. So like literally the first verses of this portion. And because you listen to these rules and keep and do them, the Lord your God will keep with you the covenant and steadfast love that He swore to your fathers. He will love you, bless you, multiply you. He will also bless the fruit of your womb and the fruit of your ground. Right away, this is fertility talk. Right away. Okay, you see. He will bless you and multiply you, fertility. Okay, He will bless the fruit of your womb, fertility. Bless the fruit of your ground, fertility. Okay, and then He's going to list specific things. Okay, we can edit that out. That was an accident. Okay, talk too fast. Your grain your wine, your oil, and the increase of your herds and young of your flock in the land that he swore fathers to give you. Now, let's establish a couple context points. The land that's referring to, the land that he swore to their fathers, right now in that time is Canaan. Okay, with all the Moabites, all the Perizzites, Hivites, Ites. Okay? Now, they practice a lot of fertility rituals. Like all of their religion is around fertility. Okay, agriculture, rain. Okay, other words I'm not going to say. Okay, so we have young people here. Now, why these particular words? I thought it kind of stuck out a little bit. Okay, what's so special about grain, wine, and young of the flock? Okay, well, this is interesting. Okay, I did not underline increase because I couldn't find too many outside resources to it. Okay, so just for now, ignore it. But in the future, if you want to do it, you can. Okay, just that's the word. So these three we're going to talk about. Okay, and the theory is God could be dissing the Canaanite fertility deities. He does this a lot. Y'all remember in the Exodus, he told them to stand across from a specific mountain. Right? Y'all remember why? What was it? Baal Zephon? Mm-hmm. Why? What's so special about that? It's in the name. Baal, one of his temples were there. Okay? So imagine, you're a priest in Baal Zephon, bringing a sacrifice, trying to feed this dude, right? Baal. And all of a sudden you see that the water gets split. And the Israelites start walking through. And all the Egyptians die. You're like, what? Right? That's why that's important. But if you don't do your research, if you don't do the archaeology, the geography, any of that, that would just completely go over your head. It's a cool story, but it makes it even better knowing that God's really disrespecting Baal. Rightfully so. Okay? So, this could be another one. Okay? Because in that land, they worship a lot of fertility deities. But who gives fertility? Is it Baal? No. Is it, I don't know, Aphrodite?
Ishtar.
Who? Who said it?
Ishtar.
We're going to talk about that. Well, we were going to, not anymore. Okay. So you see, God could be dissing the Canaanite fertility deities, just like he did at the Exodus, across from Baal Zephon. Similar thing. Okay? God does have a sense of humor. Hey, y'all, watch this. Okay? I mean, it's pretty funny. Okay? So, Dagan means grain. Does anybody know who?
Dagon is a Philistine. No.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But guess what? They're really close to Canaan. Okay? It's all the same thing. Dagon. Okay? Y'all might have heard this fellow, Dagon. Okay? Dagon is a god of crop fertility. Fertility. Everything has to do with fertility. Sometimes identified with Hadad. Who the heck is that? Well, great. Let's look at Baal, meaning Lord, God of rain, thunder, fertility. Sometimes synonymous with Hadad. Okay, so you see the connection? So who's really Dagon? Yeah, Baal. It's like the same dude. Just like Baal and El. I don't have too much time to explain. I might at the end. Okay, just for sake of time, bear with me for a second. Baal plus El equals Zeus. They're the equivalent. Okay, Yam is basically like the water deity. Okay, which is the chaos deity because we've already covered it. It's Poseidon, yes. And then Mot would be Hades. Okay, Astarte, Aphrodite, or Athena. Athena. Yes. So you see, they're all the same thing, dude. They're all the same thing. They're all the same. Okay, but Dagon is Hadad. But who's Hadad? Baal. So Baal equals Dagon. Congrats, you just did math. Yes. All right. Now, so you see, wait, let's go back to the verse. God will give you grain. Is it Dagon?
No.
Is it Hadad?
No.
Is it Baal?
No.
So you see the humor? Or is it just me? Okay, it's just me. That's fine. Alright, so grain equals Dagon, equals Baal, equals a fertility god. Okay, let's continue. Tiros is sweet wine. Okay? Now again, all of these words are actual words. Okay, I'm not saying that every time you see the word tiros, oh my gosh, God's talking about some deity. No, that's not the case. Okay, it's just saying in this particular context, it's no coincidence that it's all about fertility and needs to get brought up. Okay, so I found this on ancienthebrew.org. Okay, so Tirosh, or Tirosh, the Strong's number 1715 means wine. It's a literal, real word. Okay, but it also documented in the Elbliat. Thank you. Say it again, louder. Iblates tablets as a name of the Canaanite goddess Tirosh, goddess of wine. Now, how do you make wine? Grapes, right. So wait, what was one of the species that was native to the land of Israel? Grapes. So who actually gives you grapes? Is it Tirosh? No, who is it? Okay, cool. You see the humor now? Is it coming? That's fine, that's fine. We still got one more. Okay, so wine equals Tirosh equals the goddess of wine, which is tied to one of the species native to Israel. Okay? Cool? Good? We're doing math, I hope you know. All connections, by the way, I'm a nerd, is math. It's all math. Okay, Asteret. What does this sound? Anybody? Astarte. Right. A lot of Ashtaros. Alright, so Asteret is the offspring of the small animal. Okay, so young. What's this? Remember I told you there's a city. It scared everybody. Alright, so you see that, remember there was a city on the map that I told you to remember? What was it called? I start off. Do you think that perhaps, that's a city dedicated to this deity? Yeah. It's a big deal. Okay, so who's this? Astarte is a goddess of love and, guess? Fertility. Sometimes a consort of Baal and Hadad. What's consort? I'm glad you asked. It's a husband or wife, companion. Okay, so partner. Just say it like that. Okay, and no, I'm not gonna do it. Okay.
I like helpmate. That's a good word.
Help me. Help me. Please help me. Oh, help meet.
Help me.
I didn't see those. Oh, so partner, yeah, companion, spouse. Okay, they're together. Okay, that's Baal's wife. Okay. Also, and according to a lot of, depends on where you go and who you ask. Okay, there's different views on this, right? There's those hard transitions. Okay, sometimes Ashtaroth, Astarte, or there's another one that was Baal's mom. It's also his wife. It just gets complicated. Okay, it just gets complicated. Okay, so Astarte is a goddess of what?
Love and fertility.
Yeah, what Greek goddess does that sound like? Aphrodite? Yeah. Right? What about this one right here? This guy. Rain, thunder. Zeus, almost, right? Whenever you mix with him and Eb. Okay. Alright. Ready? There's a lot of talking. We're good? Alright. So young Ashtaroth is also a fertility goddess. Okay? So it's not the Canaanite gods that give fertility, it's Hashem. Okay? I thought this was really cool. Whenever I found that out, that is fascinating. Go ahead.
Can you go to the original verse?
Yeah, I can. Right here. Okay, so so that's actually really cool. When you look into the context, they're entering a fertile land. It's very fertile. It's a good land. Okay, there's good crops. God looks after the land. Okay, it's not flat like Egypt. Egypt was flat. They would literally have to drag their foot to bring water from the Nile to water the plants. And it's like a little vegetable garden. It's not like it was some winery. It's like just a little garden. They had to do so much work. But God takes care of this land. It's hilly. It traps the water. It's a fertile land. Okay, which is why they would probably worship all the fertility deities because it's so fertile. Okay, it's called the Fertile Crescent for a reason. Okay. All right. So who actually gives this stuff?
Hashem.
Who gives grain? Hashem. Who gives wine? Hashem. Who gives the young of the flock? Hashem. Okay, it's none of their deities. Okay. All right. We're good? Good. Oh, I forgot to put the verse where Dagon, the statue, bows to the ark of the covenant. Should have put that. So another.
That's story smart.
Yeah, that was funny. So, by the way, it's a disclaimer. It's just a theory. Okay, I'm not saying that this is fact. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying it could be a connection in the future. Just don't put on YouTube comments that I'm crazy. So I want to look into some of the practices that they did. Okay, it's bad enough, if you want to say whatever, it's bad enough that they worship those deities. Okay, but they don't know Hashem, do they? Probably not. Okay. Well, let's see what they did that was just so bad. Okay. All right. And by the way, did Israel get the land because they're righteous? No. Why did they get the land? Because the people were bad. What did they do that was so bad? Let's find out. So, can you read this? Okay. If not, I can read it. That's fine. Yeah, I'll read it. That's fine. So, fertility cults were common in the ancient pagan religions. Pagan is just a term that says anything other than God. Okay, we'll just say it like that. Where certain rites were performed at certain times to ensure fertility and avoid drought and barrenness. Okay. Common rituals included the sacrifice of animals and humans. As well as shrine prostitution. Okay, so this ties back to another portion. Okay, we've talked about this before. A lot of folks, including myself, whenever I started reading about it, they get caught up on the limitation for the women to get into the temple. Okay, we just read, and this is everywhere too, this is common knowledge. Shrine prostitution was everywhere. When a woman entered the temple, there was a certain stigma to it. And what was that stigma? Prostitution. Okay? Now, the fact that God limits, it's a good limit, limits the women coming into the temple is a good thing. Because it preserves the honor, and nobody has the right to assume prostitution. Okay? Sound good? Yeah. Good. All right, cool. But yeah, I can't explain this. Sacrificing humans. So, we established a couple things. The gods that they worship, okay, it has to do with fertility. They were crazy on fertility. Alright, but God also makes mention that God does not give them, Israel, the land because they're righteous. Why does He give them the land? Said it. Yeah, because of their wickedness. The people, the Canaanites and all the ites, of their wickedness. The Moabites were pretty bad too. Okay, they sacrificed infants. To my knowledge, that's what I did research on. Okay, so most fertility cults emphasize the changing of seasons, nature, and productivity of crops. Like the solstice, the eclipses, everything, right? Everything. The changes of the seasons. Okay, all of that had to do with fertility cults. Okay, all right. So let's continue. Fertility rites at certain times to ensure fertility. Those certain times would be solstice. They would do, what's another word for it? Like, I forgot the name of it. Equinox, thank you. I knew it started with an E, I said eclipse. Equinox, okay? And included animal and human sacrifice and, what am I going to say? You read my mind, someone did. Shrine prostitution, good job. So most emphasize the changing of the seasons and the productivity of crops. That is what a lot of fertility rituals were about. Okay, and this is not to justify fertility rituals by any means. Okay, so please don't think I'm justifying this action. I'm not. But it's not always about sex. And a lot of people say fertility, and that's what comes into mind. It's not the case. Okay, it also has to do with agriculture. Okay? All right. So, what kind of sacrifices were done in fertility rituals? Animals and humans, including infants. Yeah, we also see shrine prostitution. Okay, so if you see a woman going into a shrine where they practice fertility rituals, what can you expect? Prostitution. Okay, which is not really good. Okay. Certain times would be changes of the seasons, the equinoxes. Okay, thank you. Taught me a good word, new word. All right, ready? We're good? All right. So, we're going to continue. Specifically, God commanded the Israelites not to set up altars to Baal or plant trees to Asherah. Okay, both of those have to do with fertility, because we just established Baal. What was he? Rain, cloud, fertility god. Okay, Asherah, fertility gods. Mom, wife, thing, I don't know, consort. Okay, Scripture repeatedly condemned the horrible practice of sacrificing children to Moloch. Okay, Moloch is the god of his king. Okay, which is done in part as a fertility rite. So is that a fertility ritual? Sacrificing children? Yeah. Okay. Furthermore, God also denounced shrine prostitution and prohibited any Israelite from becoming a shrine prostitute. Okay, it's all to separate from all this stuff that's happening in the land. Okay, and we see that a lot. I wish we had the time to do a whole study on it. Just the separation that God does from these fertility rituals and commandments. They're very similar. Okay, they all kind of intertwine. Okay, so child sacrifice was done to Moloch, which is a god that was king. Okay, and it was a fertility rite. All right. Wait a second. Feel free to stand up, shake, do something. Wake up. Nice and cozy in here. A lot more spacious. You can like stretch out your legs before. It's like someone's knees was in my back. So this works a lot. All right, ready? Okay. Discuss. Stand up. Stand up. Discuss with your neighbor the various fertility rites that we just covered. Wakey, wakey. Smell the eggs and turkey bacon. Chicken sausage is actually really good. That's true. That's what's the problem. Good morning, Emmanuel. Yes, human sacrifices. That's a big one. It's a big one. Good. Huh? We'll talk. Okay. All right, ready? We're going to do a review. All right. Which fertility god, Canaanite fertility god, is associated with Dagon? Baal. Good. What is Canaanite fertility goddess Tiros associated with? Wine. Okay. What is a consort? Wife. What was Astaroth or Astarte, the goddess of? Love and fertility. Good. All right, so we covered a lot of material. But please remember God's commandments. That I can't tell you how many times in the portion, if you read it, this is my expectation that you did, you would see that Moses says to remember the commandments a lot. And it's also humbling because he also recalls all the other situations that Israel went through. Okay? And it's not because that they are righteous that they got the land, it's because of the wickedness that we just saw, sacrificing humans and child prostitution, that the nations were doing. That's what gave them the land. Okay? Alright, so, how many commandments are in this portion? 8. Okay. This is the English part, but I speak Spanish a little bit. God might have been criticizing the Canaanite pantheon. Pantheon just basically means like big old family of gods. Okay. Pantheon of fertility gods and goddesses. Again, please remember, it's just a theory, an opinion. Okay, it's not fact. Okay. To love God is to
Walk with him.
walk with Him, fear Him, keep Him, follow His commandments. All right. Oh, yeah, I just said that. Okay, God requires us to fear Him, walk with Him, love Him, serve Him, and keep His commandments. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for me? Any questions? Kimmy, what was your question again?
Oh, if it was a commandment to get married and have kids.
It's not a commandment to get married.
It's not to get married, but to be fruitful.
So like,
Some people don't have kids.
I mean, if you're unable, yeah. But like, there's now we have so many avenues to obtain a child, like with adoption and stuff. You know, so there's avenues.
So there's no commandment that you have to get married.
It's implied. Yeah, you're good. You can cut it. It's kind of implied.